Welcome back, everybody. Part 2 here of the builds. Today we're going to get into games. That's right, video game consoles. This is what it's all about. Retropie here, emulation station at its best. And we're going to start with the second generation of consoles here. Now, the first generation was basically, I believe it was like all the Pongs, like the Pong systems and stuff. But this is when video game really got started. Start things off Atari 2600, and then I think a year or 2 years later we got the Intellivision on here, and then followed by Colecovision and the Atari 5200. All four consoles on here. We're gonna get things started, load up all the ROMs and everything, and you'll be able to select which ones you want on your build here. If you want the entire library, or you want to just pick and choose of which ones to load, I'll show you how to put the ROMs in there three different ways here: remotely through the internet, through USB, or onto the USB. I'll show you all separate ways here. So let's load up here the Retropie on here. So if you picked up from last time, we got things started. We got our controllers all set up, the buttons configured on there so you can navigate here. We also installed in the ports the desktop version. We're gonna use some of that too. I'll show you different ways because it's easy now to move games. You could do it all sorts of ways, whichever one you feel is more comfortable, easier to do. I'll show you which one I prefer, and then so let's get it started. Now the four emulators on there, the Atari 2600, 5200, those two are fine. You don't have to do anything. For the Intellivision though, and for the Colecovision, we do have to install the emulators on here for the Pi to get things loaded. So let's do that first. We'll go here into the Retropie menu, press A button, and then we'll go to the Retropie Setup. Okay, we're gonna need to. All right, let me just close this out here. I was in the desktop version. Oh, there we go. You're gonna get your manage packages section. That's where we want to go. And then once we're here, we're gonna go to manage optional packages. And you're going to want to scroll down towards the bottom. Now you can see the red ones on here. For the Pi 4, those are no good. But they do have... So if we go down to over here, LR. Right here, LR Blue MSX. That's the one you want to get. That's the one, I believe, for the ColecoVision. So if you plan on getting putting ColecoVision ROMs, that's the one you want. If you don't, you could skip this step. All right, you can do it from the binary. That's fine. So we'll have, so we got our emulator now for ColecoVision. That's set up, set to go. And the next one is the Intellivision. So we're going to back out. We're going to have to scroll down a bit more here until we get here to LR-free INTV. Okay, so those two are good on the Pi 4. Install that one. And that's set for those two systems, so we're good on that. We're gonna back out. Yeah, let me perform a reboot here. Might as well. So all emulators are set now. Now we're gonna have to get our BIOS in there. And Intellivision does need some BIOS files. We're actually gonna upload all the BIOS, so we don't have to do that again for the future consoles systems, and we're all and then we'll get the ROMs in here. All right, simple as that. So as this reboots up here, restarts. All right, now I said there's different ways to do this. One of the ways, simply, If you did the first step in my previous video, that's enabling SSH, and you're on the same internet here, Azure Pi, Azure Computer, okay? When you load up the computer, I just rebooted. All right, there it goes. It's connected. So you'll have these 4 folders. There'll be a Retropie section there. You input that. If you don't have it, you could search, do 2 slashes with your IP address, and this will come up. You have your BIOS folder, your ROMs folder, splash screens. Main ones we're going to work with today is the BIOS and the ROMs folder. Those are the 2 we want. Now, let's say you didn't want to do it this way, if remotely, or you don't have a PC there. You could put the ROMs and all the folders, files that you download. They'll all be in the description here. Once you download those, you could put them onto like a USB drive. And if you do that, let's go into where I was back. Let me go back into the ports. Back to the desktop version. This is option 2. Basically, you would plug in your USB in here, and then you would go up into the folders. As you can see in the Pi section here, you have your Retropie folder. And once again, same thing, your BIOS, your ROMs. So what you do is you plug it in the USB, and you could just drag them right into the folders here. That's as simple as that, man. So you don't even have to use the internet. That's option 2. Option 3, which I prefer, because they always stay on my USB. And then, so even if I were to, let's say, reformat this or do a different build, I still have my ROMs always on the same drive, and just make it to run from like a USB drive. You may have like a bigger, like 128 or 256 USB drive, and you maybe want to use that. Maybe your SD card is a smaller size, so you could do that. And the way we're gonna do that, we got to go back into the emulation. Let's get back in there. Alright, now to enable the USB, so you can use the USB, so the ROMs will play from USB instead of your SD card. You just got to enable it. So we'll go into our Retropie, go down to Retropie Setup. Wait for this to load up. Then we're going to come down again to Main Packages, Optional Packages. And you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. It's the very bottom one right here, USB ROM service. Okay. You go down to Configure, and right here, Enable ROM Service Scripts. Click OK. So it's enabled. Boom. So that's set. Go back out of here. Back out. That's all we really got to do here. I'll reboot. Now we're gonna go back to the PC. I'm gonna plug in my USB, because we just gotta do one thing. We gotta create a folder on there, and then we're gonna plug this back in. So let me load up the PC. All right, I'm back on the PC here now. Basically, you just gotta format the SD card, just as I showed you on the previous video. Use the that Raspberry Imager on there. Click Erase. And then that will format it doesn't matter what size the SD card is. It's going to format it to the FAT32 format. And as soon as you have that, I'm in my SD card here. Just got to create a new folder. So right click, New Folder, and you're going to name it here Retropie. Retropie dash mount. Okay, so like that, Retropie dash mount. Right now everything's empty in here. All right, that's all we gotta do here. We're gonna eject this thing out. I'm gonna plug this back into the Raspberry Pi. All right, so we're back on the Pi. I just plugged in the USB into one of the USB drives there. And all you gotta do is just gotta reboot this one time on here. So once you have this thing plugged in, hit the start button, go down to quit. And then let's restart the system. So it's going to reboot on here. It's going to write everything that we have. It's going to copy. So if, let's say if I had ROMs already on there, it's going to copy everything over. Right now I don't have anything on there, so it should be a fast, quick. But if let's say you did have a whole bunch, just wait a bit, a few minutes here, let it copy. If your flash drive has like a light signal on there, it will let you know when it's done. All it takes is a few minutes on here. So we're gonna keep that in there for a bit, and then you could do this then one of two ways. Once that's written in there, we could go back to ports to the desktop, and we could bring our ROMs on another flash drive, bring it there, and just copy them over, or unplug the USB and bring it back to your PC, and then just drag your ROMs folder in there, which is what I'm gonna do on here. So let me unplug this again. Alright, so I'm back on the PC, or if you're on the Pi in the desktop, either way. And this is the folder that we created inside my SD card now. But now when I go into the folder, open that up, as you can see, all the folders have been created here for us. We have our BIOS and we have our ROMs. So first thing I want to do is go into the BIOS section. All right, you'll see my BIOS folder. Let's take care of this. Oh, we got to do this once. We're never gonna have to mess with this again. Drag all the files that are in that BIOS folder, and just bring them into this BIOS section on here. What this is basically some games, some emulators need certain files for it to run. For specific emulators, specific consoles that we run on here, is going to need the files. Otherwise, they won't. So this takes care of that. It fixes that. And like I said, we're not going to have to mess around with this again. The other one I want to do is the samples folder. There's a samples file folder. What that does, some of the arcade games, like the older classics, are missing some sound files, and these fix that on there. So in the BIOS section folder, if we scroll down, you'll see there should be a folder, MAME 2003, which already should be there in the BIOS. So you're going to click there, and then you'll see a samples folder. Right now that's blank. And basically just bring all the sample files right in here. And that takes care of that. We could get out from the BIOS, go all the way back until we're back here. And now we're going to get our games in here, our ROM. So we're going to a ROM section. First go to Atari 2600. And then drag in which games you want on here. If you want to bring everything in, that's fine. If you just want to bring, certain games, I'm just going to bring some of my favorites. I got like a list of 20 on here. For the Atari, back out. Then let me go into the Intellivision. Now, if you don't see the Intellivision, it's because you didn't install that emulator. But if you did, the folder should be there. Let me bring my Intellivision games. If you want to bring all of them, you can bring all of them. Then my Colecovision. Once again, this too. If you didn't install the emulator, it won't be here. We're going to drag these in. And then the Atari 5200. And let me drag these in here as well. Alright, so that takes care of all those. What I'm going to do now is, since I'm on the PC still here, I'm going to eject the flash drive and bring it back into the Pi. If you're already on the Pi, you're pretty much done. If you were doing it on the desktop version there, all you got to do is just reboot it. So let me load up the Pi once again. Alright, so we're back on the Pi here. I'm going to take my USB drive and just going to plug this in to one of the USB ports. So that's plugged in. Right now you're not going to see anything. So all we have to do is press start, quit. We don't have to do the system, just restart the emulation station here, the first one. Put yes. So it's going to reboot. It's going to take all your games that you've loaded up. And as you can see, now we do. We got the Atari 2600, 5200, Colecovision, and the Intellivision. So all four on here. And then if we go into one of them, you'll see the list of games we have here. Same thing with the 5200, Colecovision, and the Intellivision. So all our games have loaded up. Next thing I want to do, I mean, if you want it like this, you're fine, you're done. Just select the game and load it up. So let's say I want to play Berserk on the 5200. Select it. It's going to load it up. And there we go. Berserk on the Atari, right here on the Raspberry Pi. And then your hotkey and start, back out. So the games work. Everything's loaded there. You know, if you go into the Intellivision, some of the games that I added on here. I was looking for something. So let's say we want Masters of Universe. Let's click that. Using our free INTV emulator. Boom, it works, you know. So that's all set there. Let me back out. So all the ROMs, everything should work on here. If there's anything that doesn't work, let me know. Next thing now, if we want to make it look better, like we want to have box arts on here, description of the games, we could do that. Let me just back out. The way you do that, you press, there's two ways. If you want just box arts on their description, which I tend to like, that's very simple. All you got to do is hit start and scraper here, press A. And then you go to scrape now. And you pick which systems you want to do. On here, you start it, and it's going to go through your games, and then it's going to load up all the box art, the games, and stuff like that. But if you want to take it further, if you want, let's say, like screenshots, or if you want video snaps instead, basically we'll go into Retropie again, down to Retropie Setup. And then we go to main packages and optional packages. And once again, we're going to scroll all the way down where our USB one was. Up above it, there's two scrapers. There's the scraper, and then there's the skyscraper. Either one is fine. I'll do this one. Press start, and then install it. That'll give our scraper. Now, while I wait for that to install, we can't run it through this menu. We're gonna have to go back into the terminal to scrape the games, and I'll show you guys how to do that. That goes for either of the scrapers. It just won't let you do it from the emulation station there from this screen here. Because if I go to configure, you get this message, you know, and that's where we actually got to go, to that Retropie Setup screen. So let me click OK, back out, exit. All right, so if I hit start, I could go to quit emulation station. That'll get me here into the terminal. Or you could do, I believe it's F4 key, either one's fine. And then once we're here, type sudo retropie, big R, big P, dash setup, big S, slash, and then everything lowercase here, retropie underscore setup dot sh. And then we'll click enter. It's gonna take us back to that same menu, just from this screen. Okay, so when we go now to manage packages, manage optional package, and we scroll down back to the scraper, configure options, and now we could get in here. All right, so we're in the scraper, and depends what you want now. If you want the videos here, you enable this. Okay, and then we're gonna do this one, gather sources, and then which systems you want. So I want to do all of them, the ones that we installed. Start, proceed. So this is going to scrape the games to get the video snaps, the descriptions, all of that. It's going to take a few minutes, depending how much games you loaded up on here. Obviously, the more games, the longer wait here. So if you dumped all the ROMs from all four, grab some drink, come back, and then I'll show you guys the next step. Alright, so this thing finished on here. Got the videos, the descriptions there for us. We're going to click OK. And then before we leave here, we also got to do this, generate game list. Click that. And then again, all the systems we did. Start. It's going to create a game list for us. And then once this completes, we're done. We'll have all the video snaps, descriptions, titles for all the games, all the systems that we selected. There it goes. That's okay. Let's exit out. Back. I always like to reboot. Just perform reboot. Yes. So now when this thing loads up on here, get my controller, we should have everything in place. Let emulation load up. Now again, if you just want the box art and stuff, what you gotta do is through the scraper. This just takes a little bit more steps on there, but once you get it done, it looks pretty nice. It'll have the videos and everything on there sorted through. Alright, so we're back in emulation on here, just as before. We have our system. So now if we go into Atari, we got adventure, you got your video snap description on there. Atlantis, and so forth. Then we go over to the 5200, same thing here. We'll have our video snaps description on there here for these games. Go over to Colecovision, same thing here. And then the Intellivision. So this will give you, your box art, all that sorted through. Let me go back to the Atari. The last thing I want to do is controls. Let me get Pitfall on here. So select any game on any of the consoles. So for the Atari, if you have a controller like me, which has an analog, initially the analog's not gonna work. So you're gonna have to use the D-pad to move your guy. So right now, if I want to move, I would have to use the D-pad. But to change that, what you got to do is hit your hotkey and X. Hotkey and X button, which will bring up the menu here. And then we want to go down to controls and port 1 controls. We have a retro pad, and down here where it says analog, you want to put left analog. You could do left or right. We want to use the left analog. So to move our guy, the D-pad and the left analog will work. All right. And if you want to change any of the other controls, you could do as well. You know, Atari just has that one button, but there's other ones like to change difficulty, black and white, color, reset the game, stuff like that. So if you want to change that, you could do that as well. Once you're done, press back, and you want to go up here to Save Core Remap. Now, if you just wanted for a specific game, you do the game, but we want this for all the Atari games on here. So we're gonna hit Save Core Remap. It's saved. We'll go back out. Quick menu. We restart this. Now, if I use the analog, my guy moves, you know, on here. So that's how you get that working. And then let's back out of the game. Exit out. And then you just got to do that for each console. You load up any game here, 5200. Same thing with the Colecovision and the Intellivision. That's how you get the analog working. So everything should be set up there. Your controls. And make sure you do it for player 2 as well. If you have a player 2, do the same thing. Enable that left analog. But that's it. That's, you know, so Intellivision, your Atari 2600, 5200, and the ColecoVision, all ROMs there. Like I said, if anything doesn't work there for you, let me know in the description, or if there's a game missing that you want to see on here, let me know. I'll add it into the package. Mr. Hollywood, signing out, fellas.